Welcome to Who Knew. We are fans of the current series of Doctor Who, and here we discuss our likes, dislikes, and insights into the modern regeneration of the show.
Today we're going to take a quick trip in the Tardis, and we're going to discuss the 2007 Children in Need special.
Visit our website, whoknewpodcast.com, or email us at whoknewpodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter and on Facebook at Who Knew Podcast. Subscribe, review, and listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher, or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/whoknewpodcast. We have a new review from Pastor Hicks. Incredible podcast. This is an extremely enjoyable, interesting, and informative podcast. Everyone who contributes brings an important element and has me rewatch episodes and notice things I never noticed before, especially in details such as the music. This is easily one of my favorite podcasts to listen to, and I look forward to every week. Keep up the good work, guys. Thanks for the review. We'll continue to keep up the quality of work.
Well, that's fun. I like it when they say they go back and watch episodes again.
Yeah, that's one of the goals. Like, you should rewatch episodes.
Because I pick up things that I didn't notice that you guys mentioned. I'm glad other people do too.
Today's episode is the Children in Need special Time Crash. It is directed by Graham Harper, written by Stephen Moffat. It aired on the 16th of November 2007 and was watched by 9.6 million viewers.
So why don't we go around the room and introduce who's here today?
Hi, this is Arlene.
Josh here.
Hello, this is Auburn.
Oh, this is Kelsey.
Hi, this is Frank.
This is Eugene.
And this is Brian. Normally we do a summary of the plot of the episode, but for the Children in Need special, two doctors meet in the TARDIS. We're done.
And it's really funny. Go watch it.
Yeah.
The 10th Doctor is played by David Tennant, and the 5th Doctor is played by Peter Davison. This special takes place in between Last of the Time Lords and Voyage of the Damned.
So this episode is a special written for charity scene, basically. It's 8 minutes long. Mm-hmm. It takes place directly after Martha leaves the TARDIS. And if you notice when you watch that episode that the Doctor is walking around the TARDIS console and immediately gets hit by a ship, which he discovers is the Titanic. And we discover in this Children in Need special, well, something happened in between. So the Doctor is walking around the console. There is a massive shake. The camera spins completely 360 degrees. And you see sort of ghosting effects of the console and also of the Doctor. And then suddenly another Doctor, or another person, and if you're familiar with Doctor Who, you know it's the 5th Doctor, is in the console room. And the two of them, when they first see each other, do the famous what? Exchange. And with the 5th Doctor doing the second what. And then what I like about this is then you do the credit sequence and Peter Davison, as the 5th Doctor, gets a credit.
Mm-hmm. Russell Davis and Julie Gardner asked Moffat to write this special with the stipulations of this has to be shot in one day, one set, and with no CGI effects.
And they succeeded, or he succeeded.
I think so.
Yeah, it's well done. I like the way it's, even though there's not much plot, it seems very fast moving. The two of them are bouncing around, talking very fast, bouncing off one another. I love how the 10th Doctor is just happy and is just enjoying it immensely. And he's just having a really good time. And that the 5th Doctor is really annoyed and just trying to, this person is annoying me and he needs to go away and there's something wrong with my TARDIS that I need to fix. Which really isn't the characterization of the 5th Doctor. He wasn't an angry doctor. He was kind of He
was the dashing one.
Dashing. That's the perfect word for this Doctor.
But I have now seen 5th Doctor episodes, and I kind of see the consistency in that character. It's weird. Like, he gets annoyed.
Yeah, it does show up.
Yeah.
So, this also introduces some... it's the first time they mention the changing of the TARDIS look. Mm. And I love the fact that this is the 5th Doctor saying you changed the desktop theme.
Right.
Better than the leopard print one.
Yes. But I love the fact that it's he says you changed the desktop theme, which the 5th Doctor is from the 80s. So that's a term that wouldn't have been used during his time in the TARDIS. But they're updating it and saying that he's timeless.
I was surprised that they showed Martha at the beginning of the episode, but I guess it's just to set the time period. So you just came off that whole season. And it's like, no, this is taking place right after. So seeing that same scene, Martha leaving to go home was great. It's like, okay, you know exactly where you're at.
Yeah, and they bookend it with that ending and then the next beginning at the very end.
Yeah.
But you are thinking, oh, they're going to do more about the Titanic because you've seen it already. You've seen this scene, but they're like, no, we're putting in time in between what you've already seen, which I thought was great. And bringing back any current Doctor with previous Doctor is great. You just want to see them together and interact together.
They're following the same pattern they did with the first Children in Need special with Christmas Invasion. So that took place immediately after Eccleston's regeneration, but before the opening scenes of the TARDIS crashing on Earth. So we see the scene that happens in the TARDIS at that point.
Right.
So they place it in a specific time and give us a little bit more information than if you were just watching the television shows. One difference is the original Children in Need special really doesn't have a title. Some people call it Born Again, but it's usually referred to as the Christmas in Need special. And this one specifically is called Time Crash.
What I like about the doctors meeting and Tennant being like happy about all of it is going with the consistency of time travel, that he would remember that he bumped into himself, but he didn't know exactly when. And he's like, oh, this is when it happened.
Right.
And it was just kind of excited to see him and just really being just consistency in time travel, which most shows do not do. And Doctor Who does a great job at doing that.
Because from his point of view, there's no threat. He knows how this is all going to play out, so he's just going to run with it and have fun. And so they give all the drama to the Fifth Doctor.
Because this has never happened to him before.
Yeah, this is all new. Although he has met 4 other doctors, but
But we don't know where he is because he mentions, where are you now? Nissa? Tegan?
Which are
Yeah,
some of the
Derek
companions
and Tegan.
from that Doctor.
But he doesn't mention Adric.
Yeah.
Because they are keeping this very lighthearted, and Adric was a companion of the Doctor who died. And it was very controversial.
But he was also not liked among the viewership.
Yeah, but because he died, or we should say the character was killed off, and he was doing it sacrificing himself to save the Earth. I think Adric's character has kind of gained a little bit in his reputation. He was kind of like a Wesley Crusher of Doctor Who. So he was a young kid that was really a genius and a bit of a know-it-all, and people just kind of didn't really respond well to him. But then he didn't deserve to be killed.
So it probably happened before all of those events.
Yeah, but he does mention the Cybermen. He does mention
Gallifrey with the hats and the...
Yeah, the Gallifrey with the silly hats.
I'm sorry, Time Lords.
And he also mentions Mara or the
Yeah,
Rani?
Mara. Yeah, Mara.
Yeah. So
I want to watch this with somebody who's only seen the new version of Doctor.
I think we have.
That's me.
Yeah.
All of us.
But it's like you look back at the other one, and he's wearing celery, and he has the question marks. And I know, Arlene, you said you didn't like the question marks, so glad they got rid of them.
Yeah.
But for those of us who have seen it, it's kind of like it's fun to reminisce, and it's fun to see that again.
And
so seeing him with you was kind of.
and it's also fun that they don't do
Do you
that
pick
anymore.
it up when you think of it? Right.
Well, you could tell that it was sillier before, like, or you think that it wasn't as serious. And I kind of have to remind myself sometimes with the silly episodes that are in Doctor Who and think of it, this is a children's show. We forget a little bit of that. If there was more of that silliness and costuming, I think you would remember more often.
A lot of times, too, you see pictures of the older doctors and I'm like, what are they doing? What did they do? But this made me curious to see more of this doctor, even though I don't get the way he looks with the cricket outfit. And because I remember thinking, like, so he wears that the whole time he's the doctor? But this made me, like I said, this made me more curious to see more about it. Seeing his personality, even though you say he wasn't as grumpy, just the fact that what comes out of that actor, I'm curious to see more of.
And like you said, this really didn't have much of a plot. It was the two TARDIS from different, or the same TARDIS from two different times,
TARDIS-I?
are fighting to exist, and they're going to cause a major rift and become a black hole and destroy the universe, and they have to fix that. That's basically the plot. But most of this is just so we can see the two doctors together, have the banter together, which are just a lot of fun things of making fun at, oh, you were celery and all this, and having such a great interaction
Confidently
between the two.
wearing vegetables.
Yes.
Decorative
Yes.
vegetables.
Decorative vegetables.
And some of the other banter that I really liked was the 10th Doctor is telling the other Doctor, well, you know who I am. Come on, look at me. You know who I am. And just a response, a fan. Oh, no, I got to deal with a fan now. And like, no, I'm going to be you. I am the Doctor. And that kind of fun. And the 5th Doctor going, oh, yeah, yes, I'm noticed. So people create their own clubs and all this. And it's like, you're not a member of one of them. You're not a member of Linda, are you?
And what is
Bringing
that?
back Linda?
Linda?
It's from the worst episode ever.
Love and Monsters.
Oh, okay.
Remember?
That's right,
London
remember.
in Detective Agency.
That's right.
Investigation in Detective Agency.
Right.
Detective.
Detective agency.
So remember that episode we said we would hear of Linda again. This is where we hear of them again.
How does the Fifth Doctor know about Linda?
He's a time traveler.
Because these groupings have kind of blown up, I think, is what he's saying.
So
that
In
they're
this
always
little
around.
thing-
Doctor has encountered Linda
Somewhere down
when
the
Or
traveling
somewhere.
in the 21st century.
Or Linda has encountered remnants of the Fifth Doctor.
But
Periods.
in this quick little scene that we're getting, it's broadening the universe again. It's saying that, that the classic show doctors were having experiences that the modern show doctors did as well. So you see that, like the classic series, the Doctor didn't have fans. Nobody knew who he was. But now we see retroactively that yes, and that they annoyed him, and that, oh no, I'm aware of them and they're kind of scary. I like that. I don't like the mention to Linda because that's a reference to Love and Monsters.
It's the worst episode ever.
Yes, it is. It makes a continuity of the life of the Doctor from the very, very beginning of William Hartnell all the way to the
Because
present.
it's timey-wimey.
Yeah,
wibbly
wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
But you miss that so much when you're watching this because they say it so quickly. And there's, oh, you're not with Linda. Thinking it's a person at first when I heard it. And then it's like, oh my gosh, wait a minute. I know which Linda he's talking about.
Because you've repressed the memory because it is the worst episode ever.
If we hadn't reviewed the episode, I wouldn't have remembered Linda.
Or if you watch it with subtitles, it does spell it out. L period, I period. So it's not just the name, it is an acronym.
How's the rest of that go?
But rather than just spelling out Linda, that's why I had to say, no, they do put the period so that you do know.
I mean, this is totally just a love letter to
Yeah.
Doctor.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a love letter to the Fifth Doctor.
And that's what I liked, that Tennant was able... That's what I asked while we were watching, if the Fifth Doctor was Tennant's doctor. And
Yes.
it was a yes, everyone said.
And also the writer, Stephen Moffat's Doctor.
So it was definitely a love letter to the Fifth Doctor.
Totally.
And I don't know if it's just Tennant's great acting, but he looked genuinely excited to be standing in front of him and saying, hey, look, these are the acting cues I got from you.
Which is great.
Yeah.
I wear glasses too, and I don't need them either.
Yeah.
I got that from, and I like how he specifically
trainers.
says, I got that from you.
You.
And the trainers,
Yeah.
the shoes.
Also, fun little references that the 10th Doctor says, here, you want to use a sonic screwdriver? And the 5th Doctor says, no. And 10 is like, oh, yeah, that's right. You were hands-free. I'll just do it with a paper clip. And
Did he have one at all, or you just?
he had the sonic for a little while, and then they got rid of it for the rest of.
Did something happen to it, or he
No,
just
no.
didn't really?
The producers wanted to get rid of it because it was such a crutch. So I don't remember what happened to it.
Every Doctor is sort of different. So the third Doctor didn't use the TARDIS at all, and he drove around in a yellow old car,
Jalopy.
Betsy. And then the fifth Doctor, like Brian said, they didn't want to use the screwdriver, so they got rid of that. I think it's kinda is the last time we see it with him.
Yeah.
And then I
you're
don't
right.
think it's used
Did
until
you say kinda?
it's a Kinda or Kinda is the
I think
name of the
it's Kinda.
serial.
But like the fourth Doctor used a sonic screwdriver a lot.
But
And
then-
it became a crutch. So then the producer of the fifth Doctor said, let's get rid of it, and they got rid of it.
But I don't think we see the screwdriver until the TV movie.
Yep.
So every Doctor after the fifth Doctor didn't use a
Yeah,
screwdriver.
fifth,
really?
sixth, and
So,
seventh did not use a sonic screwdriver. And that's why when we did the review of the TV movie, at the beginning you see Sylvester McCoy, who is the seventh Doctor. He uses his sonic screwdriver to lock the box.
The master in the box.
Well, he's holding it backwards.
Oh.
And the reason being is he never used it before. He didn't know how to use it because his doctor didn't have a sonic screwdriver.
So like what they do now?
yes and
Using
no.
it as a crutch.
Crutch,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
a plot line. Oh, we don't know how to fix that. That's not a screwdriver.
It depends
can
on
do
the
it.
writer now.
Yes, they use the sonic screwdriver a lot in the current series, but I never really mind because it just seems to be, it's almost an extension of the Doctor now at this point. So I don't see it as a crutch. You just because now it's like if he doesn't use it, it's like why isn't he using it in the Sonic?
But sometimes it fixes things that is like, really? That's what the sonic screwdriver
Sometimes
does?
it causes champagne bottles to uncork.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Or barbed wire to
That
attach.
doesn't.
Look at Brian picking and choose, laying down judgment on all of Doctor Who.
Hi, I have a podcast.
That makes you a monster.
He knows me so well. So they don't specifically say what time period that the Fifth Doctor is from, but you know, you've got the 10th Doctor telling him the Master just showed up, you know, because he did.
Yeah.
And it's a very funny thing that probably goes over kids' heads, but is, you know, oh wow, the Master, wow, has he still got that rubbish beard? Because the Master, the two actors
In the classic
in
series.
the classic series that played the Master, you know, they famously had beards, you know, well trimmed, well manicured beards.
Because that's how you know he's the bad guy.
Right.
Exactly, he's got a beard, and so he's still got the beard, and of course, you know, John Sim did not. And oh no, he didn't have the beard. Well, a wife, and that's it.
That got a big
It just
laugh
keeps
out of
going.
us.
You know, and then it kind of gets heartfelt.
I do like how they explain why he looks older, though.
Yes,
The actor looks older.
They had to address that,
They
otherwise.
did, but they did a great job of
yeah.
it. Ooh,
Since most people probably won't watch this, how did they address it?
where they said, but he was saying, "Oh, you look older now. It's because of me. The energy is being taken away from you and it's aging you."
yeah, the two of us shouldn't be in the same
Yeah,
room
yeah.
together, kind of a thing.
Said he could eventually close his
Yeah,
coat.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's how your differential is going, and you'll snap back into your
That's right.
form soon.
Not only that, but they also explain why the Doctor was older when he was younger. I love it when it's just a nice
you
little
mean the
emotion moment when he
personality, right.
says, you know, oh, you know, I loved being you because, you know, before you, I was all old and grumpy
Right.
like you do when you're young.
Yeah.
And it was a nice little way to explain, again, broaden the world. What are Gallifreyans like? What's the Doctor like? And he got tired of playing old.
Right.
And so it was Peter Davison who, when Peter Davison became the Doctor, he was the youngest Doctor at the time.
29.
Yeah.
And then Matt Smith.
And that was a big shock when he was chosen. A lot of people were like, you can't have the Doctor be that young. It's just not right.
But then Matt Smith, younger than that.
Everybody just likes to complain.
And those who started watching this Doctor from when it started in 2005, when Peter Capaldi came along, they're like, "Oh, he's too old. You can't have an old Doctor." It's like, wait a minute.
You people can't be happy.
No, those are the people who just started with those who have been young. So it's like, no, watch some of the classic ones. Doctor can be many different ages.
To go back a little more with the connection with the classic, Graham Harper is the only director to direct both classic episodes and modern episodes. And he directed Peter Davison in The Caves of Androzani Part 1, which is his kind of farewell serial. And so to have him back directing Peter Davison in The Time Crash, I think is really cool. And it's weird, coincidental,
Yeah.
and really nice.
I really like this episode because it feels like someone saying, "Well, have the doctors ever crossed paths? What happens if one doctor bumps into another doctor?" You're always going to think that. So this sort of addressed it because it's more that they kind of popped into the same point in time rather than they just crossed paths. But still,
Yeah, it is the first example in the modern series. It did happen in the classic, but they're
With titles
they're-
like The Three Doctors and The Five Doctors.
and the two Doctors.
Wait, so what happens in those?
And the thing is,
There's
people
6 doctors?
people love it when the Doctors meet each other. They just do. And like the Five Doctors, which is Peter Davison's era, when all the previous Doctors, except Tom Baker,
No,
but
no, and William Hartnell, because he had passed away.
yeah, they had a different actor playing the first Doctor.
so he's the only doctor that 3 people have played.
Correct. So you had the Five Doctors. That is not a well-regarded story by any means. It was rushed, and they just did it just to do something. But people still just loved seeing the in the brief time in the Five Doctors when they're together. They're really fun. And when the Three Doctors, which happened during
John Pertwee.
Thank you. You have John Pertwee and Patrick Troughton, the second Doctor, having a lot of screen time together. William Hartnell was sick, so he could only appear on a monitor, and even he gets some good lines in too. Because, like they always say, it's like when they get together, it's going to be funny, but they really won't like each other. You know, and so the first Doctor is like, is this what I turn into?
They say a dandy and a clown.
Yeah, dandy and a clown. And Moffat just recently just said, whenever you get the Doctors together, you need to have fun. It can't be heavy. It can't be dark. It just has to be fun.
Did they play with who remembers what because of the succession of who everyone was? Like this Doctor will remember this thing happened.
They
No, they
always
don't.
try and it as dependent and needed in the script. But it seems in this case it's a predestination paradox. So the 10th Doctor, there's no drama for him because he remembers what happens and he just does it, which is what shows the 5th Doctor what to do later or at that same time.
Which this is just fun, but that's one thing that always bugs me, where there's no actual
Where'd the knowledge come from?
becoming of the knowledge.
Yeah.
It's
Terminator
always
2.
been there.
Yeah.
The knowledge has always been there, and it's always repeating itself, and it's always going to be there.
And that's why it's a paradox.
What was it? I don't think I've ever met another Doctor. Is that what he says? And then Tennant responds as, or have you? Because they're not really another person. It's the same person. It kind of is a throwaway line that
he says something
like that.
along that. I don't think he says I haven't met another. He's looking at
Oh, there's never been another person in my
TARDIS or something like that.
Yeah.
There's never been another person
never seen another-
appear in my TARDIS. And he's like, well, you haven't yet.
Yeah, you still haven't.
You still haven't.
Yes.
Still the same
Yeah.
person.
So that's not that he hasn't met another Doctor.
Well, because he knew how to do the controls.
Yes.
To fly a TARDIS.
Oh, that's it. That's exactly what it is. I never knew somebody who could fly
Rewind.
the TARDIS so well.
Change it again.
And then I like how he says, oh, that's the back of one's head.
Right.
Don't see that.
You don't see that too often.
Could you put the hat back on, please?
And then also the music goes back into the 80s retro-y type of electronic.
Oh, yeah, I
Quality?
noticed that, but I didn't think of it
It's
being
yeah.
for that reason. I thought it was just low-budget music.
No, it's very subtle.
No, you're
and
right.
It's nice to hear that type of music again with Davison showing up.
So what years was he, the Doctor?
The 80s?
That's 10 years.
Peter Davison was the Doctor from 1982 to 1984. And it's Peter Davison, but it's Davis. Never mind. I was going to go somewhere with that, and it didn't work out.
It's not David's son.
Not David's
and he
son,
doesn't
it's
like
David.
it when he's called David's son.
Question. When the 10th Doctor does the controls to create the wormhole within the whatever he does to fix everything, we go outside of the TARDIS and then there's a noise that I've never heard before. Is that
Oh, we have
I
think we've heard that before.
It's just-
heard
it's a
the
weird-
TARDIS make that noise before.
It was just a quick, cheap way that they could be like, the universe is exploding, imploding at the
okay.
exact same time, resulting in
All right,
nothing.
I didn't know if that was.
It's not like the Cloister Bell where it's very specific, but I do think we've heard that before.
Oh, yeah, the Cloister Bell's very significant. And I think the Cloister Bell should have been heard in the beginning. But then they couldn't have the 5th Doctor go, the
Yeah.
Cloister Bell.
Because he needed to realize something else was happening.
Yeah. Which I have a feeling the Cloister Bell started with the 5th Doctor. I don't think it was before him.
Let us know if you've heard the Cloister Bell prior to the 5th Doctor.
I just thought it was a nice, throwback. Because also the movie had the Cloister Bell going off.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that.
I was just going to ask if the Doctor's tenure on the show was similar to it is today. Like we get about 3 or 4 seasons of a Doctor before they change.
Tom Baker was like the
Tom Baker was 7, but he was the longest. But other than that, it's about 3.
Okay.
But Tom Baker's got the record. He's like the FDR of doctors.
I was going to say that every time I've watched this since the initial time of watching it, I always get choked up at the end because it's not David Tennant, it's David Tennant, the person, telling Peter Davison, the person, that you were my doctor. And it's not
Yeah.
the doctor. And also to an
And
extent.
it's okay that he's doing that.
Yeah. And it's also Stephen Moffat saying, you were the doctor I grew up with.
It's great writing too, the way that Moffat twisted the words to mean what you just said and that it fits into the show as well.
Yeah, because he says, "Thank you, I'm very welcome." That's funny.
Yeah.
And then he takes him back. He says, "Wait." Gives him the hat, and then says, I think he says, "All my love to long ago."
All my love to long ago.
Was that
That's
reference to?
That's just a good line.
no, it's
it's-
the 10th Doctor saying to his past self, "All my love to long ago."
Okay, that wasn't like a 5th Doctor saying that he would do at the end of episode.
And what does the 5th Doctor say? to
Long
him?
ago was someone from the planet
Lagos.
outer space.
Do you remember what the 5th Doctor says to the 10th Doctor as goodbye?
Well, can you imagine meeting a past version of yourself?
I would kill him immediately.
But then you wouldn't exist.
Okay.
I'd apologize.
Aw.
You
I'm
know,
so
guys.
sorry for
I
all
would.
the decisions you
Yeah.
made.
Beat the
No,
ever
they should be apologizing to me.
Right. I would say it doesn't get better. It just gets different. Live with it.
Why can't I find it?
I would tell myself to get over myself.
I would say buy Bitcoin.
Say,
Buy Apple.
take
By
your,
Netflix.
Take your allowance and invest in Apple. Oh, I'd say stop writing bad checks. Your parents are going to find out.
This is learning some things today on Who Knew Podcast.
You got it? Okay.
So when the doctor comes back, he says, "To days to come," says the fifth, raising his hat. "All my love to long ago," replies the 10th with a bow.
And then the very, very last line is so very doctors. And don't forget to put your shields up, which of course he doesn't do. So
Well, it looked like he did it. He just didn't do it in time. Because he presses a button.
yeah,
To sound the horn and not the shields.
So back to the
Oh,
cloister
I'm
bell.
just
What is this from?
It-
the Fifth Doctor.
The cloister bell has always signified trouble.
like the universe ending trouble.
Okay.
Imminent.
Like
In the TARDIS?
Imminent.
TARDIS.
So it'd be like a
imminent
mauve
trouble.
alert, but
Yes,
greater than.
Nice
Yeah.
callback.
we've heard it. The cloister bell is ringing with Last of the Time Lords. When they
Okay.
discover it's a paradox machine, cloister bell's ringing the constant time.
Okay, but nobody called out that it was the cloister bell or what it.
It happens in Eccleston's season. I believe it
Okay.
happens in the episode with the, no, not with the Reapers, but the cloister bell goes off.
Okay.
It's this they played it very, very loud because I mean they were the cloister bell, but it happens a lot in Doctor Who, and that signifies
Danger.
you're in really bad shape, the size of Belgium.
Which there's a reference here that says 2 minutes to Belgium, which is a Hitchhiker's Guide reference where Belgium is the worst swear word you can say in the galaxy.
You were mentioning how it. Oh, I'm sorry, Brian. You were mentioning how it's fun for the audience to see doctors together, but I think it's probably a lot of fun for the actors
Yeah.
who have played doctors to get together. It's kind of like there's only 12, 13
Yeah.
people
14,
who
14,
have
14,
ever
yeah.
15.
played this
15.
role.
Well, no, yeah.
Let's keep counting.
But yes, your point.
There's only
yes.
a handful,
Yes.
under 20 people who have.
You have 4 hands with 20.
I use my toes to count, don't you? Doesn't everyone take off their
Always.
shoes and socks to help
You
count?
said handful though.
Oh,
Not
Digit
not
full.
footful.
digit full. Okay. Yeah, but you know,
done, by the way.
who
that's what that
have
fork
this
is
shared
doing.
experience. Like no one else can understand what they're going through. Kind of like how former presidents.
You're right.
You know, they're in this club together, and it doesn't matter what side of the aisle they were on when they were serving.
Yeah.
Afterwards, they're bonded.
the only ones-
They're the
'cause
only ones who know what it's
it means.
like
Yeah.
to be the president, and similarly, no one else knows what it's like to play the doctor.
Yeah.
And so I imagine it's very fun for the actors to also get together.
Except I don't think anybody likes Tom Baker.
I was going to say, never has something not happened in a thing that I have enjoyed so much. Because nothing happened. Nothing happens in this.
Oh, it's just a scene.
Yeah.
It's a really wish fulfillment scene.
And I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I do too. I like it a lot.
You can find this on the season 4 DVD, The Voyage of the Damned disc. It's on the special features if you go there. And I believe it's also on YouTube.
Yes, but it is not on Amazon Prime. And if you
No.
look for it on YouTube, it's terrible quality.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So that wraps up Time Crash. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time when the future becomes the present.
And remember to put your shields up.
It should be. Remember to put your shield up.
You've just listened to an episode of Who Knew?
Our wonderful theme music is by Michael Grady.
Find him on Facebook at The Universe Explodes.
All our episodes are engineered by Auburn.
Find him at auburnbinkley.com.
You can find this show in several places.
Follow us on Twitter at Who Knew Podcast.
Subscribe, review, and listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher.
Or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Who Knew Podcast.
All our episodes are on whoknewpodcast.com.
You can leave comments there or email us at whoknewpodcast@gmail.com.
This podcast is inspired by Doctor Who.
the longest running sci-fi show in history.
And especially the revival spearheaded by Russell T. Davis.
Thanks to Russell.
Sydney Newman,
Verity Lambert,
Ron Grainer.
And all those involved in the adventures of our favorite Time Lord.
Your work continues to inspire and entertain.